What's up, world? My name is Darian Cahill.
And I'm Jeremy Jeffers.
And we are the founders of the hottest new sports app in the country.
The SportsQ mobile app hosts a variety of sports, over 45 sports to be exact, from basketball, football, baseball, soccer, to hunting, racing, competitive cheer, fishing, and more.
SportsQ gives you 24/7 access to post and upload sports content, connect with friends, upload sports products using the free built-in shop feature, and find a sports therapist that can help you with the mental part of your game.
The app also helps you find a sports trainer in any part of the country to take your game to the next level. You can also host and find a pickup game in any sport in your area.
So download the SportsQ mobile app today. It's free to download, so download now in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store.
What's up, everyone? It's Jeremy Jeffers from What's the Alternative Podcast. I hope that everyone is staying home and staying safe during this coronavirus. Please make sure you're taking all the necessary precautions that the COVID-19 guidelines. Make sure you're following them very closely and make sure we can stay safe to prevent the spread of this virus. Now, I hope you enjoy episode 4 with Coach Levelle Moton of North Carolina Central. Enjoy.
Just want to start with a little bit of background from you, man. Just talk to the people about, growing up and moving from Boston to Raleigh and, just your whole progress through high school and through the college level.
Yeah, man. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, in a place called Roxbury, and in a housing project called.
Is that the same spot as the boys, the New Edition?
Yeah, same spot,
Okay.
same project. Yeah,
Okay.
same project. So, we all grew up together. They 5 years older, so they actually my brother age, but.
Okay.
Two of us was in the same building. Bob stayed across the street, Mike stayed down the street, Ricky and Ralph stayed in the same building. So, and now that you mention them, like we grew up in Orchard Park, and I guess a lot of people saw the movie, but it was crazy.
Right.
On that time, it was definitely not a place for kids to be growing up, especially with this inception of crack cocaine. When that hit, like it just turned our entire project. So. People just thought if you came from that project that there was no way out. You probably wouldn't make it to be 18 or 21 because everybody that was nice with whatever dream they had, it
Right.
ended abruptly. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't want that to end. So I always credit New Edition to this day. Even when I talk to them, I tell them how much I love them and how much I appreciate them because my life forever changed the day that they were, I was in my room and my mom told me, Vel, come here, you got to see this. And I turned the TV on and they were on Soul Train performing. So
That's
right
crazy.
then I was like, yo, here goes some kids on TV that
Right.
look like me, that thought like me.
Right.
I know they moms know my moms. You know what I'm saying? Like this real life story. And now you can make it out of here. So they were my first inspirations. Nobody shooting the basketball was my first inspirations. It was actually
Right.
New Edition. So we migrated down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I attended Inlow High School, and that was a different experience for me, man, because when I came out of 8th grade, a lot of schools recruited me to go to their high schools,
Mhm.
but it was only one school and one coach that never recruited me. He ain't say nothing to me, and everybody knew he was tough and demanding.
Right.
And it was crazy, man, but you had to run 5 miles every day before practice. Like if you went there.
Times
Like it
have
was
changed for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So everyone was giving me all these promises at other schools to say, yo, you come here, you'll start, it'll be your ball, you'll be the man, and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't choose that. I selected Inlow High School. I went with the person that never recruited me and the guy that was tough and demanding because I knew that's what I ultimately needed. And I had a great career there, and I owe it all to Coach Frank Williams and Coach Preston McLean, God rest his soul. And then I was able to go to North Carolina Central. And the crazy thing about North Carolina Central is I had never seen the campus. I think I heard of the school one time. They were in Durham and I was in Raleigh, even though it's only 30 minutes apart. It seemed so far away back then.
Right.
Everything's
What made you choose Central? And who else were you getting recruited by at the time?
crazy, man. When I came out of school, I was recruited by, my final schools was Michigan State, Wake Forest, and NC State. That was
Oh
my final
wow,
3
that's
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying? That was crazy,
That's
right? And
crazy. That's
you know,
crazy. I mean, any kid in the country would have chosen any of those three over Central.
absolutely, and it was crazy. I'm not saying I was the novelty where I just went completely left and selected Central on my own with so much knowledge and wisdom. Like pretty much what happened with Wake Forest, they were putting pressure on me to sign, and this was like I didn't understand all of that at that age,
Right.
man. And you know, now you got 19 AAU coaches and all that. Like we
Right.
didn't have that. Our AAU team was the #1 team in the nation. It was myself, Jerry Stackhouse, Jeff Capel,
Okay.
a guy by the name of Chuck Cornegi, who ended up going to state and ended up going to Villanova. Like we were the #1 team in the nation. So
Right.
I didn't need to market myself and do all the promotion. Like that team just did all of that for me. So long story short, I didn't want to sign early with Wake Forest. And so
Mm-hmm.
they ended up signing Rusty LaRue
Mm-hmm.
and also Barry Canty. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went on a visit to Michigan State, and I loved Michigan State, and I wanted to go to Michigan State. I met Magic up there. And
Okay.
probably a couple of months later, their coach called and said he was going to end up retiring, right?
Oh,
So he
gotcha.
wouldn't be able to coach me through. And
Right.
I was like, oh man, so this is June, and now I'm stuck. And back
Right.
then, people won't do little prep school. I was 17 when I came out of high school. It was taboo to be held back a grade or something. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like I was
Right.
like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So my godmom that went to North Carolina Central, and I was kind of stuck. I didn't have a school, and NC State was going on probation. And Greg Jackson, the coach at North Carolina Central, he came, he said, look, I never recruited you, man, because I ain't feel like I had a chance to get you. But if you come to
Right.
North Carolina Central, we'd love to have you. And I remember him sitting at my mom's kitchen table, and I looked at my mom, and he had the scholarship papers right then with him, right? And I just looked at her, and the look on her face said it all. She said, I just want you out of these projects, you know,
Right.
because she knew, and her intuition told her, if this kid stay in these streets, like nothing good happens. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
we know the options, and all
For
my
sure.
homeboys that got caught up. So I signed with North Carolina Central, sight unseen. I had never seen this school at all whatsoever, and I signed that paperwork right there on my mother's kitchen table, and the rest is history.
Okay. Cool deal. Cool deal. Now tell me a little bit about when you were at Central. What was the biggest adjustment from as a player from high school to college?
You know, it's always, I always say it's going to be the natural adjustment, bigger, faster, stronger at every level. You know, it starts with
Right.
Pee-wee, and then it goes to elementary, then it goes to middle school, and then it goes to JV, and then it goes to high school, then it goes to college, then it goes professional. So good players just adapt. So I didn't really, it wasn't the fact that I had to adjust my game because I was really confident. I'm talking as a player, and I ain't talking as a
Right.
coach. I was
Right.
confident. So
Right.
when I stepped out there, I played against the greatest talent in the nation. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace, like, so, you
Right.
know, I feared no one. And
Right.
the biggest adjustment I had to make was, it was the first time I ever realized there was politics in the game,
Yeah.
right? And my coach came to me, and every day at practice, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, you know, pick up. I mean, I'm destroying people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm holding my own.
Right.
So we had some talented players in front of me. We had a hell of a team, but I only averaged 4 points my freshman year, and I think I only averaged like 8 minutes a game. Sometimes I didn't even play, and it was really frustrating to me because I'm like, yo, like what's going on? He put me in the game against Livingstone. I had 20 points in 20 minutes. The
Right.
next game I didn't even play. So I had a problem. It wasn't like I wasn't performing. So he just came to me. He said, look, man, you a hell of a player. He said, if you can get through this year with me, he said, because the guy that's in front of you, he's from Durham, and I gotta play him. He told me just like that. And I was like, you know, up until that point, I always thought whoever's the best is just the best, and rightfully so. That's when the first time politics came into the fold. And you know, I was frustrated. I was 17. I didn't understand it.
Right.
And so I was going to transfer to NC State the following year because now they're off probation. They're like, look, they don't appreciate you. Come on over here.
Right.
And so at the time, my cousin is playing with North Carolina, Donald Williams, and he's MVP of the Final Four. And me and him battle every day. So I was like, yo, I should be like, I'm just as good as him. if
Right.
not better. Like when I'm sitting on the bench, it was embarrassing. It was the first time I was humiliated in my basketball career, to say the least.
Right.
And I just wanted answers because it wasn't because I won't working or playing. So the following year, he promised me. He said, "I'll let you do your thing." So the next year, I averaged 19 points. I jumped from 4 to 19 as a
Right.
sophomore.
Right.
The rest is history.
Gotcha. So let's dive into that topic of, the freshman woes. What is your thought process as a coach as far as, kids transferring? The whole transfer thing, like, are you a believer that they need to stick it out based on the situation? Because, it's very common nowadays,
Yeah.
so, but I think it starts, I talked about this on a previous episode, I think it starts from middle to high school when they jump from trainer to trainer from AAU team. So what's your whole take on it?
You know what, man? That's a great question to ask, and this is really a loaded question because we could just have the entire podcast.
For sure.
I'll tell you this. Have you? I don't know if you ever seen the movie Ray. You ever seen the movie Ray?
Yeah.
There's a, and I think it's beautiful parenting, and some may disagree, but it's what it is. When he's going blind.
Oh yeah.
And his mom realizes he's going blind. And it's like one of the most emotional scenes ever I've witnessed. He's on the porch in her lap, and she's telling him, like, she's wiping his eyes, and she's like, "Look, it's no time for tears, because this world don't care nothing about your tears or your feelings."
Right.
And then soon after, he's walking in the house. Now he's blind. He's walking in the house, and he's looking for her. But he don't know. He's still so young. He don't know how to navigate himself through. He falls, right? And instantly, parental instincts says, "Go pick up your child and help."
Right.
He's standing right there, and she just looks at him, and she makes him get up off the floor and find and discover his way through life, and the rest is history.
Right.
I use that analogy to say, I don't think every situation is ideal for every kid. So I agree that, if it's just not working, you probably need to leave. Right. But when there's minor reasons, you have to understand that this is the business of college basketball, and you got to be like the young Ray Charles and get yourself up and navigate yourself through. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
And so my woes that I went through at 17 at North Carolina Central, it prepared me for life. It prepared me to be a better man. And I'll take it even further. Like, the reason I do it, my premise is just to develop the totality of a Black man, right? And my job, I really see my job as restoring Black families, because I'm coaching and molding the next husband, the next leader, the next father, out here, to restore families. And I'll tell you what, 7 years ago, I started this thing with my nonprofit foundation called the Single Mother Salute, right? Mm-hmm. I was a product of a single mom. I just wanted to honor 100 single moms at that time. And so we gathered them up, and we treated like a prom. It's a red carpet event. We gave them like vacation giveaways, gift cards. We just had a night of fun because they never had that opportunity. And I put everything together myself. Right. And I said, this will be the only one I'll be able to do, because next year I won't be able to find any single moms. So we marketed it next year, and it was 125 the following year.
Oh, wow.
Then the year after, it was 150. Now we're in our 7th year of the Single Mothers event, where now we give away over $30,000 worth of prizes. It's an amazing event, but we're in our 7th year. Wow. And the reason we are in our 7th year of a Single Mothers event is because somewhere along the line, when they had a relationship with this man, he left. For whatever reason, he left, and he ain't fight it out. And I told those ladies, he ain't leave at 35. He left at 35 because he left when he was 5. Right. He left at 5 because he left when he was 10. He left at 10 because he left when he was 15, 20, 25, 30. And now it's easy to leave right now.
Right.
And I see it kind of destroying our family. So I look at it much bigger than basketball, because the reality is it's less than 1% that's going to play.
Right.
Professionally. And so I concentrate on the 99.5, and I know that ball is going to stop bouncing, and this world don't care nothing about your feelings and your mom and your daddy and your uncles and your AAU coach calling on your behalf because something ain't go your way. And like, no one cares about the feelings of a young black man. And that's the truth. That this country has never done that. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't about to start now. So I just look at it from a different lens, a different perspective. And I think kids, the other reason I don't like the transfer rule, and I think they're about to implement that kids can be able to play right away.
Right away.
And
yeah.
I actually hate that. And again, I'm all pro kids. Like I'm an advocate for kids. I think they should get paid, give them everything. I'm all for that. But what I don't like is that rule being possibly implemented because, number one, it's going to become the Wild Wild West, and everybody's just going to be right. And in the process, they're going to end up playing themselves because here's what happens. We've been the recipients of transfers, so I'm not complaining in that manner. But when guys transfer to us, 90% of them coming from another Division I institution have to sit out a year. Mm-hmm. That year is essential for them because our university takes away some of the credits from their previous institution. So maybe let's say 25 credits. So now that year, they get a chance to get back on track of graduation. And so now the remaining 2 years, they can treat it like it's their regular junior and senior year, and we're able to graduate these kids, and they can go out here in the real world with a degree at hands and some value with their portfolio for when that ball stops bouncing. If they allow transfers to play immediately, we're still going to take the credits from North Carolina Central. We're going to strip them as if it's any institution because the colleges don't care. So now that kid is short 25 hours and he plays right away and then plays his senior year, he's going to leave that campus without his degree in 24, 25 hours short. And no, none of those people who's advocating for him to play right away, none of them going to take care of him. None of them going to take care of his family. No one is going to give him a springboard or a platform to go out here in this real world. And so that's when real manhood starts. And that's the message I try to convey.
Right. So let me ask you a question about your loyalty to Central. So, obviously, you're a legend as a coach, a legend as a player. Is that part of the reason? Obviously, that's part of the reason what you just spoke about for staying in Central, because I know you had several opportunities come knock at your door.
Right. I've always been the guy that, man, money, I tell people all the time, man, like I understand the importance of it and its value, but the best thing that the project showed me is true happiness, right? When you grow up in poverty, pure poverty, you learn what true happiness is, right? And when you're rock bottom, you still get a full view while you're down there. You follow what I'm saying? So I know what happiness is. And happiness is not materialistic. It's not superficial. Those things are important and essential in terms of taking care of your family. But I always said I wish everyone could achieve their dreams of getting all the money and all the materialistic things that they can possibly have so they can see that's not it. You know what I'm saying? So I say all that to say my premise of getting into this business, I never desired to be a college basketball coach. I started as a middle school coach, making $225 a month, for 3 months, right? And I turned down an $85,000 assistant job at that time to take the $225 job a month. So money has never been my motivation. So when people talk about you leaving and going to something that they perceive as bigger and better or greener pastures, the money factor is it. I've turned down $1 million coaching job. You know what I'm saying? But so it's always feel, it's always gut, it's always intuition with me. And I know I'm in it for the longevity. I know I'm truly in it for the kids and just developing them and their totality of their manhood. And when the right offer comes, it will, I'm sure present itself and it'll feel the right way. As a man, when something just don't feel right, when you go out to a party with your friends, and it just don't feel right in the club. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so my gut has never lied to me. In the times that I tried to go against my gut and my instinct, it's been a disaster. So, I just try to take it for what it's worth, man. And and ask God to lead the way and send me the signs. And I guess when I know, but
Right.
it's a beautiful thing to be wanted and respected and revered in this business as well.
Right.
Hold on one second. Let me get my
You
door.
good? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here.
Good? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the grind of life. So
Mhm.
just to give you a little background on me, I played at Drake University. Then I
Mhm.
came home. I was in the area with, I don't know if Poobie played for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Me and Poobie are
Mhm.
tight. We played on kind of the same AAU teams for a couple years, but
With D1 Sports,
I
what was
didn't
that?
play with D1. We played with the United Celtics when it was
Okay.
Ian Miller and the rest of
Yeah,
those
yeah,
guys.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was on
Okay.
that squad. But just talk about the grind, man. So a lot of people don't know now that after I finished my playing career, I came home and I opened a training facility.
Wow.
And in Wilson here. And a lot of people just think that, it's so easy. You're pretty much running your own business anyway. But they
Right.
think it's so easy just to, you got money and it's just glorious, but they don't see all the work that goes in behind the scenes. So talk about just grinding, period, and how it transfers from basketball to life.
Man, I learned that, everything that I'm about, everything that I am and who I am, I really learned that value system from my mother and my grandmother.
Right.
Um, my grandmother was the smartest, most incredible human being that I've ever met in my life, and she didn't have a formal education. My mother didn't complete high school, and I think she left in 11th grade, and she went to college to pursue, what was then perceived as the American dream and try to find her way through life. And my mother ended up having her own cleaning business, so she cleaned houses for a living. And every day I saw her grind,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a real grind because there was no health, no dental, no life
Right.
insurance. It was none of that, and she had to do it every single day. She ain't had no sick, no paid administration leave, like none of that. Like it was every day I got to go get up and go get it. I got to vacuum, I got to mop, I got to clean. And as a kid, that like ripped me in half because
Right.
I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
And so I called myself going to help her one day when I'm in high school. And I meet her at one of her clients' homes and I take her lunch. And she's sitting there and I said, what else you got to finish? And she's like, oh, just that table in that room in there. So I'm going into I'm in the client's home and I'm beginning to polish the table that my mom didn't finish. So I put what is it? The shine on top of the table.
Right.
I wipe it down, wipe the legs of it down. And I said, all right, Mom, done. It's spotless. It's shining. She's like, you're not finished. I was like, what you mean? She said, you got to get under the table. I
Oh
said,
wow.
what? She said, no, you got to get under the table. Like the surface under the table. I was
Right.
like, who in the hell sees that? Like who?
Right.
She's like, it don't matter what they see. Like you don't work for their affirmation and the validation,
Right.
right? You work, and every time you work, you do the best job that you can possibly do. So you ain't doing this for them in terms of what they're gonna see and what they're not gonna see. You do it for you. And then everything else take care of itself. So she made me spray under the table. And I'm up there wiping. Those people would have never looked under like who
Right.
looks under their desk? Like
Right.
not on the floor, under the desk, but she made me shine that. And right then it taught me a valuable lesson that any and everything that you want, you got to dot all I's, cross all T's, and be willing to go the extra mile. Some people
Right.
will just spray the sheen or the polish on the table and wipe it and think they've done their job because the optics says it looks good.
Right.
But those who really excel in this life go above and beyond the call of duty. And that's what my grind has been. And you have to be willing to sacrifice something. It's not only about the grind, it's about what you're willing to give up because
Right.
the average human being is selfish. They don't want to give up nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like the average basketball player want to be the best basketball player, but he want to have the most girls. He want to party the most. You know, like you got to give up something. You follow what I'm saying? And that's what it is. So all my life, I've always, when I was in college, that's what I gave up. I gave up a large part of my social life. I go back to homecoming now, and I don't know anybody by name.
Right.
They be like, "Hey, Val," I be like, "Hey, boy, what's going on, boy? I see. I don't know anybody's name because I was in the gym all the time because I had to get my mom out of the project. So I was incentivized to go above and beyond. So I'm glad I grew up how I grew up. And the sad thing is, I'm discovering is that a lot of people don't have the grind because they've been pampered and spoiled their entire life, and they've been handed and given.
I was just gonna talk about that. So let's dive into that. So for people, like I grew up in a good home, middle class, but I just had, it was something about me that I have that entrepreneur spirit where I can't work for people. Like I can't do it, you know? So I don't know where it came from, but my parents, you know, they install hard work. Mom's a teacher. But like for those people who have been pampered, how do they find it? You know what I mean? Or, you know, like, do they need another mentor or, you know, what's your thoughts on that?
You know what, man, that's the $1 million question because I don't know, like, if you have it, you have it. And if you don't, you don't. It's like that killer. Like either you have it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to place that killer mentality in people who don't have it. You know, I can tell. I got a huge dog in here. He might come in here. He's an Akita, and anybody come to that door, he's attacking instantly. It's just who he is. It's who he is by nature. So I can tell him not to bite.
Right.
But I'll find it really difficult to try to tell him to bite. You know what I'm saying? Because if he got it in him, you just don't have it in you, man. So it's really hard. And that's the challenge for my kids because they're definitely not growing up, you know, the way I grew up. You know what I'm saying? They got everything that a kid could have. And I tell my wife, like, we got to be really careful with what we're giving them. So we've established like a reward system. Where if they put in the proper work and do what they're supposed to do, I reward you all day because that's what life does. And then sometimes I won't because I don't want you doing it because you want to have or you want to be incentivized to receive something because this world ain't going to be giving you nothing anyway. Sometimes the reward is just knowing that you completed the work and adding that to your resume and portfolio. So it's really different, man, especially nowadays, because this is the first generation that can get paid from home. It's really something called working from home. Like my mama, like, what? Working from home? Like, yeah, man, you can sit on this couch all day and still get paid and work from home. You see what I'm saying? So it's different and it's affecting everything. This is also the first generation of basketball players that don't really have to take care of their mom, right? They can help their mom and they can, you know, obviously anybody can do a little more with $1 million and so on and so forth. But they don't have to help their moms because their moms or their parents are okay. You know what I'm saying? Now, they might be living middle-class, modest lifestyles, but they're okay. You have some who's really below the poverty line, but for the most part, everybody else is upper echelon, got a house, got a car, and they could use more, but there's no pressure on those kids to go do something for their mom. My mom dropped me off at school and she hit me with this. She said, I love you. She said, when you come back home, bring a little bag. Don't bring a big bag, 'cause I don't take care of grown men. That I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I know what that meant. You follow what I'm saying? So it was like, you go up to this college, you do whatever you want to do, right? But whatever you do, you better make sure that you do it to the best of your ability because you're not coming back in my house. And I ain't taking care of no grown man. You follow what I'm saying? And so now this generation of kids, they can go live back with their mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom was locking doors. Like, you're not coming in here. So there was a different type of pressure.
It
And this
definitely will.
generation don't have that, and I think it takes away from the grind a little bit.
And I like the reward system that you just spoke about, because I got a lot of kids that I train whose parents are privileged, and they'll come in. I can't get them. He go home. He got 2 PlayStations. He got steak on the table.
Yeah.
He's not going to have a dog in him, but he can be skilled, very skilled.
Right.
That's going to be his advantage. But what do you expect when y'all leave here and y'all go to Chick-fil-A and he get anything that he want?
There you go.
So
yeah.
I got one more question for you, Coach, and then I'll let you go. So
No, you good, man.
Okay. Let's talk about recruiting, man. A big thing I want to talk about for a lot of kids. What do coaches look for in recruiting? Because a lot of kids just think, boy, if I get a mix and I get a crazy dunk on Instagram, coach is gonna be it. So tell them the real deal on what coaches look for when they recruit.
I'll be honest. I ain't watched the mixtape in years, right? Because mixtapes are like profile pictures. Like they're supposed to be. I tell my staff, highlights are just that, highlights. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever misses a shot on their highlight. You know what I'm saying? But now I look at your highlight tape, and then I look at your percentages, and you shot 22% from 3. But your highlight tape, you 10 for 10. With Fireball coming out. With your favorite song. You got fireballs coming out. Now you really hot. So I done seen the game, man, and honestly, a bunch of coaches have been catfished. Via social media. They creative. They can put it together now, and it's heavily produced nowadays. It's a Spike Lee production. They mixtape. So I don't fall to that, man, because nothing will ever take the place of human interaction and me put my eyeballs on you and seeing you through adversity. I like to go to a game where a kid that we're recruiting that we know can play, but he's experiencing some sort of adversity. Now he's 1 for 10, right? But he's used to being the best scorer or the leading scorer on the team. How do you help your team still win this basketball game? You're 1 for 10 right now. Are you pouting and you're sulking because you worried about your shot, or are you still locked in to help your team win? Get it back on the defense, do something. You follow what I'm saying? Those are the things we look at, because on this level, if you take your hand and put it over everyone's resume, it all says McDonald High School All-American nominee, all conference, 3-time Letterman, honorable mention All-State, first team, this player of the year, whatever. It's all the same. So you wouldn't even know who is who. But the thing that separates you is your heart and your mind. You follow? So those are the intangibles that we go look for, and oftentimes we discover those things during adverse situations.
What about the persona of the kids off the court? Obviously, the academic side of it. What are some of the things you look for? How they carry themselves off the court?
That's huge, man. And my grandmother always told me, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I'm looking at your transcript and you're everywhere off the floor, you know what I'm saying? Like you're barely making it, and you're barely making it. Some kids just are not great students. I can respect that, and they're struggling, but I don't respect a kid that's capable of having a 3.8, but they're just floating around the eligibility mark. You follow what I'm saying? Because that's just average. And I don't want anybody average in my program. I don't want to deal with it, because average means you're the best of the worst. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what programs and winning is predicated on. So we look at their academics. We look at their social media pages, right?
Okay, that's huge.
What kind of words? Yeah. Oh my goodness, we go on there. What kind of words do you use? Especially their Twitter, right?
Okay.
Because Twitter is often a little more difficult for this generation, because they're willing to be more seen than heard. So they cater more towards the Snapchat and the Instagram. Twitter, you got to say something to get a select following. Especially if you a dude, you really got to be talking about something, unless you just super popular, right? Because little girl, they can be video girl, whatever, just get a bunch of followers. But a dude, you really have to be talking something, prompt if you got a huge following. So I like looking at their social media page to see what they're saying, how they're saying it.
Right.
Um, are you cussing on there?
That's so. I'm so glad you say it. 'Cause I tell my kids this all the time, and when they watch this, now they're gonna understand because it's coming from you. Coach Jay don't know what he's talking about, but
Yeah.
I'm on your IG story. F with me. Follow like
Yeah.
what are you doing, man? Like
Yeah,
and change
it's
your Instagram name from Hold That Glock 34 to your first and last name. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Glock 30 underscore too.
Right. So
You know what I'm saying? But no, that's real. Even the highlight song that you choose for your mixtape or that you choose for your stories, I pay attention to all that, man, because true character is who you are when nobody's watching.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? So you made that post, because you ain't think anyone was watching that could possibly assess you. You knew your peers was watching, but even when you're posting something for your peers, how does it appeal to coaches that's essentially with you? And they got to understand, like, college basketball is a brand, man.
Yeah,
You can't attach anything that's negative to a brand. It's a Fortune 500 company. You know what I'm saying?
And I think people they just really don't understand the importance of, even me and my business partner, we talk about it all the time, how I love to go, you like to have a drink every now and then. I can't even post that on my personal because it's customers that follow me. Like, my whole brand is different, and I don't want anybody to crush that or bring that negativity.
You got to be extremely cognitive of it, especially as young Black men. You know what I'm saying? You got to be extremely cognitive of it. I've never had a drink in my life. I've never smoked anything in my life. It's just not my thing. I don't place judgment on anyone that does. But if I'm at homecoming, and it's people drinking at homecoming, and they may want a picture, I tell them, I'll take a picture, but you got to put that drink out. Yeah, let down, let him or her hold it. I'm not, because before you know it, I'll have a drink in my hand, let somebody else tell it. And I was, I was falling out drunk, and like anything. But perception is reality, and that's what you got to be extremely careful of, man.
Yeah. Well, talk about your success as a coach, and obviously you were having a great season before this Corona stuff happened, man. How has it affected you? How are you taking it in? Are you ready for it to be over? So tell me how that Corona really affected this season in particular.
Our guys was disappointed, to say the least, man, because we were playing our best basketball. We had some injuries throughout the year. We had never played with our basketball team or practiced with a complete basketball team. So we kind of struggled early, just getting everyone acclimated. But then as a coach, I felt it, turning, and they felt it. And you could see the confidence and the swag that they began to play with, and the unselfishness and love that they have for each other. And they were gaining and gaining confidence. We beat A&T and won the regular season. And as we entered the MEAC tournament, the first night we played Delaware State, and I think we jumped out on them 32-9. So we were really playing well, and we ended up winning that game. So we were going to advance to the semifinals, and then word began circulating that, they're going to possibly cancel this tournament. And I saw the ACC cancel there, and then the SEC, and I was like, yeah, okay, that at any moment, this is a little more serious than anyone thought, because at that point, no one had all the information. You know what I'm saying? We were seeing like some cases, and we knew it was a threat, but it's kind of human nature for someone not to feel threatened by something until it start hitting close to home. And I think once we saw a couple of NBA players become diagnosed with it, we was like, okay, hold on, something ain't right. This ain't just a China thing or a Italy thing or whatever this media is trying to paint this as. This is people that we know who have it, and this is 6 degrees of separation. So let's take this thing a little more seriously. But I hate the circumstances of it, but I'm gonna be honest. Like, I like being at home because I'm never here, and I've been cooking meals.
Right.
I was like, wow. As a father, I normally buy all the meals, but I've never prepared a meal for my family. And so I cooked fish the other night, for my daughter, and she don't eat anybody cooking, and she loved this. I was like, girl, you like my fish? You know what I'm saying? So she loved my culinary skills in here. So I made tacos the next night, and we're just spending quality time, man, because, in the vocation that I'm in,
Right.
we spend more time with other people's kids than we do our own, and that's just the ultimate reality, man. So, it kind of, we go out and we play and, have silly games going on. And my son is now getting me to play video games with him and so on and so forth. But I'm trying to take as much advantage as quality time that I can possibly, take advantage of, because it's, this life is fragile. The fragility of it is crazy, man. And I was on the phone with, you may know Rod Strickland, former NBA point guard. He had 3 homeboys up in New York, and they all went to a cigar bar, and they all dead now, right? Wow. Because if you think about it, the cigar bar is probably the worst place to be. And this was at the not at the peak, but at the inception of when we were hearing it down here. And so, the fragility of life, man, is crazy. So I just ask everybody to, continue to quarantine, practice the social distancing, and take care of yourselves.
For sure. Last question for you, Coach. I want you to give the youth of today advice about being realistic with themselves, as far as being an athlete and going to the next level, and give them advice on life after, how to prepare for life after, and your main points to get to those, those 2 questions.
Yeah, my advice to the youth is, number one, the biggest skill set that you can possibly have is the ability to listen. There are people that's around you that's been where you're trying to go, that's done what you've trying to do, and they're there for a reason. Trust and confide in those individuals that you can trust and confide in, because kids got great spirits. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids and dogs and babies, they got great spirits. So confide in those people and listen. And kids got to understand, the only thing that's going to get you there, because I'm going to be honest, you can't be LeBron. God ain't make but one of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had John Wall when John grew up in the same neighborhood as me. I raised John. You can't be John Wall. I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter how much work you put in. Eventually, God-given ability and genetics are going to take over. So for this NBA thing, dream on, work hard, and try to get there if that's what you ultimately want to be. But do understand, from Michael Jordan down to Shaq to all of the great ones, that ball is going to stop bouncing one day. And when it does, what are you going to do with your life, right? What are you going to do with your life? This is a beautiful game as long as you play it. It's an ugly game as long as it plays you. And I've seen a lot of circumstances where the game has played the guy, or, you know what I'm saying? Because when it's over, and this game, it's a beautiful girlfriend, but it's an unfaithful lover. You know what I'm saying? Like, she gonna replace you with somebody else soon as you ain't doing what you're supposed to do no more, or you can't do what you need to do no more. She replace you with somebody that look just like you. So you have to work extremely hard for it, and you have to prepare along the way. Academically, you can't just have a 2.1 or whatever it's gonna be, because again, that's average, that's mediocre. And when the ball stops bouncing, and they go back and look at your transcripts and your resume and your portfolio, now you are in direct competition with everyone that graduated from Ivy League schools, right? Who had a 3.8, 8, or whatever it may be.
And a lot of the times, Coach, not to interrupt you, they don't understand how much relationships and connections mean.
Ooh, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I was going to touch on. It's like, I look up, man, and I've been extremely blessed, and I can't complain. This game has been incredible for me, more than I can imagine for myself, right? But the main thing it's done for me, it's allowed me to retire my mom. That was my only goal. to retire my mom, because I was like, she can't walk in this door anymore. Like this not gonna happen. Not under my watch. Like it ain't going down like this. So this game has not only allowed me to retire my mom, but really take great care of my family and establish that for myself. But when I look back, it's the relationships that I established along the way that helped me and propelled me and springboarded me into this place. And the thing with relationships, people just think like if you call or text somebody, say, man, just checking on you, that's building a relationship. No, that's not building a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's always going to be the case. And, you know, I had the luxury of coaching the USA basketball team, being assistant coach on that 2 years, the first year, 2015, and last year. And I didn't get that because I was a great coach. I got that because the coaches at Nike ultimately respected me and made some calls. George Raveling, who's the director of global basketball, was like, yo, this guy right here. And he's like my godfather. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where the call came from. It wasn't because they hand selected Levelle Moton. You know, so all of this is relationships, man. So it goes back to what your mom said, like, everything you need to know in life, you learned it in kindergarten, for real. Treat people the way you want to be treated, you know, and it'll come back to you. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I just think it's very important. And, you know, I worked with Kobe White in high school. And my stress to him was, you got to have personality. Like, you can't be the guy that walks around, you know,
to
and
yourself.
just put your head down. Like, you have to talk to people. You have to break out of that shell, because ultimately it's what helps him. Like, even if you can have a 4.0, but if Johnny knows Jack, who's hiring, Johnny's going to get the job. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, you know, being able to speak properly, and, you know.
I was going to say that. Take a speech class, right? Take a speech class, because, again, nowadays, when I hire my coaches, I don't even look at resumes. You follow what I'm saying? Like, energy is so important to me. You know, how I feel when I'm in your presence. How do these kids feel when they are in your presence? And I advise everyone to take a speech class. Like, one of the best things that ever, and I was a shy dude, man. I would, if my teacher asked me to do a book report in front of the class, my first question to her would be, what would my grade be if I don't do the speaking part? Because I didn't want to stand up and speak.
Right.
So what I did, man, and I laugh about it now, me and Jerry Stackhouse, whenever we had these AAU trips, we always put our thumb up, and I was interviewing him or he was interviewing me, and we would be on these buses with these long, or vans with these long rides, and we would interview each other. So we were rehearsing, trying to prophesize our next career, because my grandma told me, a dumb man can be able to talk and they'll think he's smart. A smart man, if he can't talk, they'll think he dumb. You follow what I'm saying? So the ability to communicate is extreme and essential, man. And this generation don't have it as much because they don't have to talk. They don't even have to spell. All you got to do is get the 2 letters of a word right, and then you got the auto spell on your phone. So you ain't even got to know how to spell. And so they can slide in someone's DMs or something if they want to talk to them. We had to walk up and see them and talk to them. Right. Now, there was a lot of rejection that came with that, but the ability to talk and look a man in his eyes, you know, it's nothing like face-to-face interaction.
That's essential. Well, I appreciate your time, Coach, man. I won't hold you no more. Get back to what's for dinner. What's on the dinner table tonight?
Man, I'm gonna let the wife handle it tonight. You know, this fish getting over right here. They ain't going out there to cheat, so I'm gonna let her have it tonight. Man, there's something in there. Even if I gotta eat some cereal, but I ain't getting no tonight. It ain't my thing.
Well, look, man, I know how busy you are. I really, really appreciate your time and hopping on my podcast, man, for sure. And
anytime,
I definitely want to work with you in the future. We got some big things going on in here in Eastern North Carolina with my nonprofit as well. And I love your mission, your goals, and everything that you got going on. And I really idolize, you know, how you put on for our culture as well. You know, because it's extremely, extremely hard out here. Trust me, I know firsthand, being in Eastern North Carolina, running my business, it's been 10 times harder than, you know, than anything I can imagine. But, you know, we push through, and you know, it's good to have people like you who are, you know, willing to do stuff like this. So I appreciate it, man.
Thank you guys for watching episode 4 of What's the Alternative podcast. Thank you, Coach Moton, for showing some love. Please make sure you follow us on all social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And stay tuned for the new episodes.